Hey, you guys, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this video today, we're going to go into a little bit of history, something I've always loved to do. We're going to talk about Ebony magazine. We're going to talk about the history behind it and all of that. But you're going to hear it from a perspective of someone who grew up with it. And like many of you, you grew up with it as well. If you're in my age bracket, I'm over 50 years old, and Ebony magazine was a part of my upbringing. You know, Ebony magazine, Ebony Man, Black Enterprise magazine, Jet magazine. I know I'm missing some. Ebony Jr. You know, so what you have to understand, if you're younger than I, you have to understand that that was our black internet, if you will. That was black Twitter for us back then. And the one thing that I really loved and appreciated about Ebony magazine and Jet magazine and all these other ones, Black Enterprise, was that it presented an image of black people on what we could become. You know, it was a very positive, upward lifting, upward mobility geared, publication. That out of that, for me, it helped me to aim higher, to see what could possibly be for my own life. I'll give you an example. There was a black gentleman that went to the school that I went to. It was a Christian school, mostly white, and but they would have chapel, chapel every Wednesday, and the reason why I had to mention mostly white, because they typically didn't have anybody that looked like me speaking in chapel. But this one particular month, they did. They had this one black guy that came in. I never heard of him, but come to find out, he was a pastor of a very small church in the area, but he also had his own computer business, him and his partner. And I'll never forget, he handed out these handouts, and it's probably still at my old house. I don't know. Maybe I threw it out. I don't know. But I had this handout literally hanging on the wall in my room for years, all throughout high school. And it was actually a copy of an article, a featured article that Black Enterprise did on his business. And it was a picture of him and his partner. One was sitting on the desk, the other was sitting in the chair, or whatever. And the article was a very short article. It was talking about what they did, how they got in business, and all that kind of stuff. And then after listening to him, I was like, wow, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. That's my goal. I want to get into computers, because at that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But when I saw him, and it was just something about, I was like, man, that's what I want, and at that time, I'm like, I like computer games. We had Atari, at that time, yeah, arcade games. But, you would see computers a lot of times on in movies or whatever at that time. Some of y'all will probably laugh at the computers back in those days. But, nonetheless, it just seemed like it was something out of reach, at least for me, because I wasn't one that was that good in math. I only became a little bit better at math when I began to understand how it related to the real world. I mean, you're telling me a train on one track is going one way and the train on the same track is coming the other way. At what point would they collide? I'm like, okay, well, instead of you figure that out. Meanwhile, I'm going to look for the switch to get one train off of that track so that there is no collision. That's kind of how I thought. But anyway, but when I started, so computers was somewhat scary to me, because at that time it was really pretty much computer science. That's all it was. But to see this gentleman, talking about his business, how he got into it and all that stuff, I was like, it's possible. Well, if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? And so it helped me to aim higher for my life. And I'm telling you, I had that magazine article hanging in my bedroom for years, all throughout my high school. I had it hanging up for years, and it was a point of encouragement for me. And so this is just the power of these images and what they were able to do, at least in my life. And that brings us to Ebony magazine. Ebony magazine has been around for years, and it was a source of positive, upward mobility thinking, what could possibly be, for black people and the black family and all that. They were heavy influence on the black family, the black home, building legacy, that kind of thing. And so it was a very good magazine as far as I'm concerned, at that time. And so, looking back now, there are some things that were going on as well that I don't think a lot of people are, if you grew up reading these magazines, you may have skipped some of these things. What if I were to tell you that Ebony magazine was partially funded by skin bleaching companies? Yes, absolutely. And we're going to look at the evidence of this as well. But the question is, why? Was there anything in them? Wait a minute. This is a black owned company. Why would they take money from skin bleaching companies? Why would they do that? Were they that desperate? Or was there something in their belief system that actually that's what they wanted? Well, we're going to look into that. So anyway, first of all, John H. Johnson, when you look at his history, John H. Johnson, he was actually an Alpha Phi Alpha. He was part of the fraternity, Black Greek Letter Organizations. I'll just bring some of this stuff up on the screen here. That's him right there on the top right hand corner. You can see me blocking it, but you get it, right? He was definitely an Alpha Phi Alpha, and that was his thing there. And they were very heavy, that publication when it came to supporting their fraternity and sorority members and all of that. I remember they used to have pages and pages of different sorority members and stuff. It was like an annual thing or something they used to have. And so anyway, when you look at these fraternities and sororities, you have to go back to how these fraternities and sororities even started. And the only reason why these fraternities and sororities, I'm talking about black ones, Black Greek Letter Organizations started, was because of the fact that they were not accepted by the white ones. There was really no need for the black community to have a secret society. There was no need for it. When you look at economically what was going on, we were at the bottom of the totem pole. Why do we need a secret society? I mean, when you think about it, why do we need that? We're at the absolute bottom. Why do we need a secret society? Well, simply because they wanted to be like them. So this is the birthing of the Black Greek Letter Organizations. They wanted to be, and it's even telling you in the name, Black Greek Letter Organizations, not black organizations, Black Greek Letter Organizations. So they're embracing this Mediterranean mythology to be a part of it, to give them some kind of legitimacy. See, we don't want to talk about that, but anyway, it's gonna get even more interesting. So when you go back to Prince Hall Freemasonry, let's go all the way back to that. Now we talk, because it's all Freemasonry, all of that. But when you go to Prince Hall Freemasonry, in the beginning, again, it started off with a gentleman that wanted to be accepted in the regular Masonic order, but they wouldn't accept him. So what he did, he had a bright idea and said, hey, listen, I'm gonna start a black one. And so you would think that this black man would have started one and said, hey, I'm just gonna start it. We're going to call it the something else, whatever. It's going to be our black organization, right? And just have your own society and be cool with it. But no, what did he do? He actually took a boat or whatever he took over to England, to the main Freemason lodge, to get their approval. Why do you have to get their approval in order to do something for your own people? But that's what happened. He went over there into England to get a charter. And so basically that's how it all began with the Freemason, the Prince Hall Freemasons. Yeah, it's what it says here. It says on March the 2nd, 1784 and June the 30th, 1784, African Lodge Number 1 petitioned the Grand Lodge of England for a warrant or charter to organize a regular Masonic lodge with all the rights and privileges thereunto prescribed. And that's what they did. They went there to get approval. So what they were saying was, hey, listen, we want to be like you. Can we get permission to be like you? And that's what happened. Something that we always say on this page is what? The tree will never abandon its roots. It will never abandon its roots. So if something starts off like this, then it's going to continue you're going to see it throughout its DNA as it evolves and develops over the years. It's always going to be there, always going to be there. So they needed that approval from white people. So if you continue on here, I found this really neat article It's right here. I'll pull it up on the screen here. This was on watchtheyard.com. And I'm just going to jump to the actual article itself. It's an old copy of it. It says paperback test letter from 1928. This is where this letter comes from. Addresses black fraternity and sorority colorism at Howard University. Let's go down here, and here's the letter right here, and let's read that. Okay. Okay, good. It cleared up a little bit. You may not be able to see all of it, but I'm just going to read it for you. Okay. It says ever and anon rumors and reports come out of our colleges and institutes that color prejudice is in evidence and color discrimination practice. We are not so surprised when, sorry, y'all, this screen, man, hold on. We are not so surprised when we hear such rumors and reports about institutions of learning owned, controlled, and attended by white people, but it certainly comes as a great shock and causes a feeling of shame when we hear such news about Negro colleges. At first glance, it would seem incredible that Negroes themselves, the victims of an ignorant prejudice and discrimination because of color, should follow the lead of the Nordics. Okay. And yet, a sophomore at Howard University, our proudest institution of learning, made such a charge against the Negro fraternities and sororities there. Writing in the Hilltop campus publication, the student Edward H. Taylor alleges that the Greek letter organizations are behind the movement, which results in splitting up the various classes into groups of different shades, yellow, brown, and black. According to this young man, the light-skinned students are sought after by the fraternities and sororities, particularly the latter, as members, and the dark ones are passed by. The darker brown students then form their own cliques, while the blacks are left in the cold. This is the most disgraceful situation imaginable. A generation of Negroes that has such idiotic prejudices will never produce a Toussaint. And then he named some other people like Frederick Douglass and some of these other people. Negroes, young and old, everywhere in the world today, and particularly in the United States, have got to clearly understand that whatever the gradation of color in the group, they are all Negroes. It isn't the slightest moment that one Negro can boast. And then he goes on in the article there. And so he's calling this out because this was something that was going on college campuses like Howard University, but it was going all over. There's a book called A People of Our Own. There's some other books out there that actually talk about this, where in earlier history of these fraternities, sororities, these little secret societies, the boulets, they favored light-skinned people. Why? Because they wanted themselves to be white. They knew they couldn't be white, but they knew that they could be discount white. A grade B white, you know what I'm saying? And so this is what was part of the foundation of their belief system, which brings us to Ebony magazine. Now, Ebony magazine, John H. Johnson, as you may or may not know, he was an Alpha Phi Alpha. He was a member of the Boule, proud member of the Boule, and wanting to, this whole affinity to light skin could be seen in his publications, as you'll see here shortly on the screen here. You can look this up here. Now, these are older, going back to, and this is like in the 1960s. Most of these, as you can see on your screen, are all light-skinned people, light-skinned black folks, or as they would say back then, fair skin. Never say fair skin, by the way. Fair skin means good. All right. When you say fair skin, that means it's good skin. So some people still say fair skin. You don't want to say fair skin. You can say light skin, but don't say fair skin. OK, because skin is good. OK, now this is it. And this is the first two, November 1959, December 59. Look at this. These are the first two magazines that they came out with. Look how white these people look. And so then you're going into 1960, and then there you go. Okay, more and more light skin. So they laid the foundation of this so that you understand. This colorism thing, it was fueled heavily. Well, it started from these white folks, right? Because they had their preference for lighter skinned black folks. But then you had this boule fraternity, sorority, Masonic level that preferred the light skin as well. And they laid this foundation that got buried in deep into what we want to call black culture today. And this is what you see carried on into the music videos and stuff like that. This preference for lighter skin. It came from these groups, these fraternities, sororities, Masonic orders. They're the ones that really pushed this thing deep, this self-hatred. And so now when you get into the magazine itself, when you start looking into the ads, you'll start seeing certain ads popping up here. This is one I just picked out. This is March 1960. If you scroll down, Lucky Strike, this is back when they were having like, they were taking cigarette ads. I don't even know if they do that anymore. But anyway, if you keep going, shoes, going, different things here. Keep going. You keep going here. And, we're getting close here, but I'm getting close, different ads here. I probably skipped one here. Let me see here. No, not that one. Okay, let's see here. I wanted to show you like the different ads here. Okay, here we go. So here's a company here. This is one Deluxe Bleaching Cream. Nadenola. Hope I'm saying that right. So here we go. Skin bleaching. Biggest beauty value you ever saw. This sensational half-price sale is to introduce a new family size jar of Nadolina Deluxe. No, sorry, Nadolina. Sorry, Nadenola Deluxe Bleaching Cream. Yes, a big brand $2 jar that contains enough of this famous complexion clearing cream to last 3 persons at least a month. And it goes on and it says, chase away those bad complexion blues. Don't let a dull, dark complexion rob you of romance. Don't let big pores, blackheads, oily skin cheat you of charm. Don't let a poor complexion make you look a lot older than you are. All right. And so when you go, and this is just one ad. If I keep scrolling, there's going to be several other ads that you're going to see in there as well. But let me click on this one here. And these are some more examples. All right. You can just do a search on this on your own. Same company. These are ads that you will find typically in Ebony magazine. All right, so that's one there. You see that on your right hand side here. Here's another one. Nadenola. They actually they were banking. They were dependable money for Ebony magazine. Bleaching cream. See, and as I'm showing you this, it's interesting because a lot of folks would. Today you will laugh at people in the Caribbean or on the continent of Africa and talk about how they use skin whiteners and stuff like that. But where did they learn that from? They learned that from over here. We were doing this stuff. Thanks to the wonder of modern science, new Artra skin tone cream. Where else do we got here? More. Here's one here, Nadenola. Here's another one. Keep your complexion honeymoon bright. And there are plenty more of these magazine ads. So Ebony magazine was partially funded by skin whitening companies. I bet you never heard that one before, did you? Here's another one here. My skin was once dreadfully drab. This is what they were pushing. And what this did and when you think about, for those of you who grew up in this time, I know that many of you my age and older, you can personally attest on the whole light skin, dark skin thing and the impact it had on a lot of people. And that unfortunately got passed on to the children and so forth and so on. You see this one here. It says fairer skin makeup won't hide a poor complexion. and you can buy it from them. All right. So these fraternities, sororities, and some Masonic orders, they were pushing this whole narrative, and they were responsible for burying this thing deep. So while many of us, when we were looking at these magazines, we were looking at it, as I shared earlier, it was a point of encouragement. It was a point of, man, I can be this, I can be that. But for me, there was never this thought in my mind that I can be white. I can be white. I never had that thought that, wow, I can be just like the white people. Like, I never had that thought. But these people did. These people, what they were really projecting in their publications was you can be just like the white people. And the proof of it is the fact that they have these ads. They're taking money from skin bleaching companies so that you can become what they wanted to be, which was white. But like I said, in order to understand it, you got to go back to all the way back to Prince Hall and all of that, and how the foundation of this, they wanted to be accepted by white people. And it leads us to this final thing that I want to share with you right quick here. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here. No, I'm not. Okay, so let me bring this up on the screen here right quick for you. This right here, it leads me to this. You know, as you know, right now, you got a lot of people who are, you know, I would say there are a significant number of black people, particularly black women, that are very excited about Kamala Harris. They're saying she's a black woman that, you know, we got to get behind. No, she's not a black woman. She's an Indian woman. She's Indian, and she's proud of it. We got many video clips I can show you. I'll show you, you know, in future broadcasts and videos or whatever of her saying that she's proud of it. I don't see why you shouldn't be proud of it. But to claim this culture, it's no. You had some cultural experiences. That's like me going to a few Chinese restaurants and saying that I'm Chinese, or growing up in a Chinese community and saying that I'm Chinese. No, that doesn't make me Chinese. You still are what you are. But here, what you see on your screen right now, this is Roland Martin, who's also an alpha. He is on his timeline. He posted this. It says white women. Check this out. Now, this already happened, by the way. I think they had close to, I'm hearing numbers anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000 that they had on their Zoom call. And like I said, I'll play some clips on that on a future broadcast. But here you have Roland Martin, an alpha, who's asking white women to answer the call to show up for Kamala Harris. So let's rewind again. So here you have a black man who's begging white women to support an Indian woman who's married to a Jewish man. And then they, you know, there's a rest up here. But here's the thing that's really something to me about this. This class of people, they would much rather make an appeal to white women than to go to the black men who legitimately have some questions and, you know, and some real concerns that they're not seeing being addressed by Kamala Harris. They're not seeing it at all. So instead of, hey, you know what? Let's have something for the black men who really have some deep concerns about it, about Kamala Harris. And let's see if we can answer now they may say, well, we had something for the men already. No, you had for the rah-rah men. You had it for the fraternity men. Because most of that, let's not get it twisted, that was made up of fraternity men, just like the one they did for black women. That was made up of mostly for sorority women. And let's go even further than this. Anytime when they say we got to support our sister, what they're really saying is our sorority sister. That's what they're saying, you know, because it's double speak. Because when they say sister, regular black folks will think that, oh yeah, you know, she's black and we are. When they say we got to support our sister, they're saying sorority sister. That's what they're saying, you know, but you outside of it, you think, oh, she black and all of that. No, no, they're talking about sorority sister. So it's a small club and you ain't in it. So anyway, so Roland Martin and all of these other boule types, they much rather make an appeal to white women to support their cause than to have an honest sit down with black men who you might can convince, but they have legitimate questions. but you're not willing to face these men. Instead, you want to get on social media and talk down on these men and talk about how they don't know what they're talking about. They hate women. You know, you hate black women, and, you know, and you don't want to see black women succeed, and you don't want to see black women make it ahead and all this other stuff. So now it's, we hate black women. You understand what I'm saying? But you much rather have all the energy and lay out the red carpet for white women. See, it goes all the way back again. A tree will never abandon its roots. It won't. They've always, from the beginning up until now, they want that appeal. They want that acceptance of white society. That's what they want at the end of the day. And they're willing to go with a candidate who has made it very clear over and over again that she don't really care too much about black folks. And black men who are opening their eyes and starting to see that for what it is, you know, they don't want, you don't have anything to do with these types of black men. But this goes right along with when you look at feminism, when you look at the history of feminism, feminism always had ultimately, a lot of times we think that feminism was started as a hatred towards white men. And that was true to a certain extent. But in reality, feminism really in its early stages had issues with black men. If you go back into the history of it, it was black men that they had an issue with. And then later on, when you start getting into the 50s and 60s and the early 70s, they try to revisit that, you know, by trying to, you know, appeal to black women in the feminism movement. Some black women took the bite, others did not. But then later on, black women ultimately did and created something called womanism, which is a black version of feminism. And so this is what you see in full bloom right now. But I just wanted to do this to show you, again, the people that are driving these narratives out here, what they're really driving towards, what drives them. And so to do that, you have to go back into their history. And so looking at Ebony magazine, something as simple as Ebony magazine shows you exactly what they're driving to, is that they want to be in a place where they can be accepted and loved and cherished by white people. Now, the question is that where you want to go? Is that the direction you want to go? Because if that's the direction you want to go, then I'm sorry, we're not going in the same way. So hope you got something out of this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, and I'll see you again next time.